Hey everyone, it's Jack here, TalkNorwichCity. Welcome back to another video. Sadly reporting on Norwich City's first championship defeat of the season. Coming at the New York Stadium against Rotherham United. The Canaries losing 2-1. Two first half goals from Rotherham, one from Lembisca and one from, who else? But Jordan Hugill. He was bound to score, wasn't he? Absolute inevitability. Norwich did get one back in the second half through Christian Fastnacht. It wasn't enough. And Norwich City will go into the international break off the back of a defeat. I think we have to be slightly careful here not to overreact. Rotherham haven't had the best starts to the season. But they're still a very shrewd championship team. And I think when you go away to the New York Stadium, you know what you're getting from Rotherham. You're getting a well-versed, fairly direct, strong team who will have the full support of the home crowd. That's exactly what we saw today. Norwich City were completely off it in the first half. That was where the game was lost. Second half was somewhat better, but still not what we've come to expect over the past kind of 4 or 5 games in Cup and League, and even pre-season as well, actually. And I think this is one of those results that maybe humbles us slightly and brings us back to reality and it makes us realise that this league isn't straightforward, and there will be bumps in the road. But you only have to look at the table. I mean, 5 games in, 10 points on the board. We're still in the top 6. And I think when I look at the other results in this league as well, it does, I fully expected, Leicester and Leeds at the start of the season to be really good. I thought Southampton were going to be very good. Leicester have won 4 of their first 5 games, but I don't think they've been convincing. Leeds are really struggling off the pitch and haven't been great all season. Southampton have impressed me in parts. Equally, got pumped 5-0 by Sunderland today. So, we expected those 3 teams that were relegated to be really strong and have a real impact on this league. Actually, that's not the case. Preston go in top of the table. Ipswich are second, which sadly we did predict. We expected Ipswich to be a decent championship side this season. But let's not get too carried away. For me, I think, Josh Sargent's injury had a big part to play today. I've been so impressed with him. Not only his goal scoring, but his pressing. He just suits this system so well. Everything you want from a striker in a David Wagner system that he's trying to deploy at the moment, Josh Sargent had. And his injury will impact Norwich City. Now, we were all without his replacement, Hwang, today. Of course, we only signed him yesterday. So we get to see what he's all about. Adam Ida's a very different player to Josh Sargent. I think there's something in there with Adam Ida. I don't think he's certainly the player that Josh Sargent is. He was the replacement for Sargent today. Didn't quite work out. He's been playing a slightly different role. He's been more of an impact sub, and he was expected to lead the line today. Norwich, we're trying to play the way we have done all season. Just nothing was connecting. I mean, Gabriel Sara was misplacing passes. Kenny McLean was. Nothing seemed to work. There was a complacency about Norwich City today that we haven't seen this season, and that was a surprise. I mean, we can try and find excuses. I think that Sargent one is the big one for me, and I think once we've got Hwang back, Science is supposed to be back after the international break as well. I think the international break comes at a good time because there's been a lot of change at Norwich over the last couple of weeks. Let's have a couple of weeks where we can, regroup, reassess, and then hopefully come back far stronger after that break. I think when I look at the, first half was poor. It was one of those halves. Rotherham took advantage of it. You get a goal back early on in the second half through Christian Fastnacht. You maybe expect Norwich to push and find another gear. That didn't quite come. And then the substitutions were surprising, really. Jonathan Rowe, who's been obviously fantastic all season, and Christian Fastnacht come off. On comes Poeta and Springett. It just doesn't inspire me hugely. I know Puemiswa Poeta scored against Bristol City, and David Wagner clearly really likes this bloke. He played him a lot in pre-season. He's tried to incorporate him a lot this season. I'm not convinced he's a decent championship player. Springett, young lad, still yet to see much from him. But just our bench in general looked really weak today. Poeta, McCallum, Liam Gibbs, Springett, McCracken and Long, the goalkeepers, and then Fisher, Warner, two youth players, and Marcelino Nunez. I mean, we are going into this international break fairly thin on the ground. Now, we do have players to come back. Here's our injury list at the moment. Science, who I'm really excited to see what he's all about. You've got Hanley and Sorensen, who are both out, and you've also got Hernandez and Sargent. So a couple of long-term injuries on that list. But Norwich were threadbare today, I'd say. Also, worth throwing into the excuses bucket if you want. Norwich have played 3 away games. Huddersfield, Bristol City and Rotherham within a week. That's demanding, for big squads, let alone a squad like we've got at the moment that's fairly thin. So there are all the excuses. Let's just hope that this is a flash in the pan and, it's not too severe. There were glimpses of goodness today. I think Rotherham have been slightly. I think people are, speaking quite bad about Rotherham at the moment. Look, they're a championship team who will be expected to be down at the bottom this season, but they've got some good players in there. We know what they're about. They had a good end to last season. We need to figure out, how we cope without Sargent. Some people will say, well, we scored 3 goals without him against Huddersfield. He was off the pitch for 80 minutes of that game. Yeah, it was slightly different. I don't think Huddersfield are as good as Rotherham. We were already leading that game. It was slightly different. For me, that press from the front wasn't there today. The runs in behind weren't there today. I'm not saying that's Adam Ida's fault at all, but we do now need to adapt. I think Hwang will be an option, and I'm looking forward to that. I think Science will hopefully fit into this side. And once you've got a few more of those players back that I mentioned, the bench starts to look a bit better. And instead of bringing on an 18, 19-year-old, you're bringing on a seasoned championship player. So for me, I'm not getting too worried. We're going into the international break, 10 points on the board. If you go at 2 points a game in this league, you'll gain promotion. I don't think any of us expected promotion this season, to be honest. I thought we'd be mid-table, so to be going in with glimmers of hope and with some wins on the board fills me with confidence. Look, far from ideal today, and that trauma of last season that was stuck in the back of our minds, we did see rear its ugly head again today. But we've seen enough good stuff that certainly outweighs what we see today. So I'm going to remain positive. I think the Sargent one is big, not ideal, but our deadline day signings we haven't seen yet. They could add something, and hopefully, with a bit of rest, a bit of recuperation, and a few new additions in this side, we'll be back onto a good thing after the international break. So let me know what you think. Are you worried? Are you concerned? Or are you still feeling positive? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.